What's up, guys? We're going to do a Q&A for basketball-specific injury questions that we received. My name is Dr. Marco Lopez, Doctor of Physical Therapy and Certified Strength and Conditioning Specialist and co-founder of the Basketball Doctors.
My name is Dr. Gabe Ignacio, Doctor of Physical Therapy, Board Certified Orthopedic Clinical Specialist, and co-founder of Basketball Doctor as well. So yeah, what Marco mentions, we're going to take some questions that we found on our platforms and try and pick a couple that we really like that are common and see if we could answer as detailed as we can for you guys.
Perfect. And like I mentioned, guys, if you guys have any other questions, comment below, and we'll try to answer them as we can in further videos. But today we got a couple questions going from young athletes to different type of ankle braces and then to just ankle pain in general. But let's jump into the first question. Gabe, what's the most important workout or physical activity younger athletes, like middle to high school, should be doing so they can start, young to have good longevity?
Yeah, that's great. I think I'm not sure you asked that, but if someone's asking that at that age, especially in that high school or like younger age, they're at a good spot because at the end of the day, that's what we want, right? Even at Marco and I's age, like we want to be able to maintain as much function and optimize as much as possible as we age so that we can live like an active, healthy lifestyle that we want. So at that age, I feel like the big thing is, like workout wise, is making sure you optimize and master like fundamental movements. So like being able to squat properly, lunge properly, step up, hinge, jump, all those mechanics, deceleration, landing, all those things. You really want to optimize your mechanics and learning them young so that when you do them body weight wise, you can learn how to add weight into it. So like once you learn how to double leg squat properly, start using it with kettlebells, dumbbells, start loading up with the barbell, and then adding weight from there. I think people skip steps where, okay, let's do weight training. Let's already throw weight onto you versus let's master the movement, either working on like cadences or tempo to learn how to do it properly, and then add in the barbell, master that, and then add weight. So I think it's up to like the S&C or like who you're training with to make sure at that young age you're developing properly with certain workouts. Besides that, I think when we're young, I wish I did this more, is like maintain as much mobility and flexibility. So like as we age, our muscles and bones are growing, and what tends to happen is that as we grow, at least males and boys, we don't maintain that muscle flexibility. So as our muscles get bigger and longer, we don't maintain the flexibility in the muscle, so it tends to get tight, and then as a result our joints get a little bit stiffer. So at a young age, if you can maintain, it'll set you up really well for as you age. And the top athletes that we work with, they're both strong, powerful, but also have really great mobility and flexibility. Like they could do splits, they could do high kicks and everything. So top tier athletes have that as well. So that's something to work on. But at the end of the day, I feel like longevity wise outside of working out is developing good habits. And that goes to what do you do for warm-ups? What's your nutrition like? What's your sleep like? Are you doing a lot of time on your screen? Are you like getting outside? Like, are you getting your work done, homework? It's like developing all these good habits and learning what works for you so that as you get into high school, college, and hopefully in the professional level, you already have those habits that you can lean on when something is like new or the environment is new. And then just learning from other people, as like when you're a freshman in high school, you can learn from your juniors and seniors. When you become, same thing with college and professional, you learn from your veterans and stuff like that. So I think not only just workouts, but learning about yourself and learning about what works for you with habits will go a long way for you as you develop in your career. I don't know if that answers questions.
I mean, that's pretty solid. I mean, I think you mentioned the mastering the fundamentals, getting those good habits and then getting the mobility. But I think it's a good way to start them young. That way, when they get to high school, I mean, you could even start this in middle school, high school, like Gabe said, just load on the weight. It's easier and progressive because, sometimes the boring stuff is the most important stuff as opposed to doing all the flashy stuff. Just get the fundamentals, the basics. And I think that's a good way. I think that's a good way to progress them correctly and safe. All right, guys, so on to the second question. So Gabe, the question was, I had a history of ankle sprains and I have some conflicting opinions on wearing ankle braces during games or pickup games versus eventually learning how to not to rely on it and eventually stop wearing it at games. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good question, especially for like following an ankle sprain. As people that are watching this as a hooper, unfortunately, ankle sprains are probably the most common basketball injury that happens, especially in the lower body. And both Mark and I have had them ourselves, and I get it. Like, there's so much stuff out there nowadays with research. There's one thing that says one thing, a different thing that says another thing. And from our clinical experience and what we've seen is there is a place and time for ankle braces. And I think to answer his question specifically, it depends on what stage you're at in your recovery process. So early on, we'll just break it down real quick. Early on, it's probably smart to use an ankle brace to provide a little bit of stability for the ankle so that ligament has time to be offloaded and to heal optimally, like setting up the environment for it to heal. But as you progress, you want to get out of that brace with at least rehab stuff. So like in the clinic or like at home, you don't want to use that brace for like your exercises, like doing mobility work, like balance, stability training, a little bit of strengthening. Ideally, you're not going to do anything really crazy that's going to cause that ankle to like give out or put in too much stress on that ligament. So ideally with rehab setting for like your less dynamic activities, we want you out of the brace. As you progress more through rehab and you get to like the first time running, first time cutting, first time jumping, decelerating, we'll probably have them throw on the brace for their first time, get comfortable with it, maybe use it the second time. And if they feel good, wean away from it completely in the rehab setting. As you get into like basketball specific training, you're always going to start with like skill-based training. So whether that's like dribbling around, working on like cutting with your team or like doing some like specific drills with your team, whether it be individual work with your trainer or in a team setting, start with the brace, wean off of it. And then same thing as you get into like more live practices where there's a little bit more contact, you're reacting to somebody, you're playing more like one-on-one, 3v3, 5v5. You want to start with the brace and then slowly wean off of it. And then as you wean off of it with those earlier stuff, you're not going to use the brace for that and just use the braces for as you progress higher and higher through your rehab. And then when it gets to playing games is when you play a game, we recommend that you start off with the brace, build that confidence, build that trust in it. And then while you still do all your rehab and like all your practices without the brace, and then eventually you'll get to a point when you feel confident without the brace. And then that's when you can decide if you want to use it or not. Research has shown that ankle braces now are a good tool for preventing ankle sprains, especially the initial one. There still needs to be further research on subsequent or like your second, third, or fourth ankle sprain. Hopefully that doesn't happen, but it does happen. So it kind of depends on where you're at with your rehab. But ideally, you need to be doing rehab and practices out of the brace before you can try and play without them during games. Perfect world is you're not using them. Perfect example is Steph Curry. He has quote-unquote glass ankles, but like he's changed up his rehab and he hasn't really had ankle issues anymore, but he still wears ankle braces every time he plays, and that's more preventative thing. And like I said, research has been supportive of that. So that's kind of my 2 cents with ankle braces. I don't know what you think or if you need to add anything on top of that.
No, I think that's solid. I think the big thing that Gabe was saying is don't rely on it. And I agree with it too. So we're using it early on as, you know, a little Band-Aid to help you go through it. But you'll see a lot of people that need to use ankle braces at all time. And it's not a solution for the ankle sprain. You got to do your rehab. That's where we kind of plug in our ankle sprain rehab program. If you're dealing with an ankle sprain, ankle braces are going to help, but it's not really going to get your ankle back to where it's supposed to, and you got to do your rehab. And we have a great online rehab program. The link will be in our description, but you can do it all online. Gives you the test that you need to do in order to get back to the sport and decrease your risk for any additional ankle sprains.
Yeah. I think before you get to the next question, I think if you're going to take one message from my ramble about that stuff is do your rehab. Ankle sprains are like notorious for people just, I'll just lace up or I'll just rest and then go back to playing basketball. They either re-sprain their ankle or they cause another injury up the chain. So at the end of the day, you shouldn't rely on braces, but do your rehab. Like if we work with somebody, we ideally don't want them to rely on braces to play their sport.
Yeah, definitely. And it's always those people that they're like, you know, my ankle's always bugging. I'm using an ankle brace, but don't do the rehab. You got to do a rehab. Rehab is not the brace.
Yeah.
All right, guys. So let's go into the final question. Gabe, so the question is, my son is 13. He plays and trains a lot and is having issues with both ankles. They feel fine, but once he starts playing at the end of the game, he's in a lot of pain. I've taken him for scans, nothing show up. Pain is in his heels. Any advice?
Yeah, so this sounds definitely like an overuse injury. Unfortunately, kind of with the trends that we've seen lately with kids specializing in playing one sport and playing all the time, we are seeing more of these overuse injuries. And you said it was heel pain.
Yeah, heel pain.
You stick the heel.
Yep.
So we're thinking at that age and where the pain is, there's a pathology called Sever's disease, and it's pretty much like heel pain, similar to osteoarthritis disease, where our muscles are growing faster than our bones, and with the sports that we play, our quads and calves and Achilles are getting overworked and overused quite a bit. So where that Achilles inserts into the heel, the bone is called your calcaneus, where it inserts, it's pretty much tugging on that bone every time you walk, run, jump. And what happens is that every time that gets tugged, since the bone's still immature, the bone will actually lay down more bone and start to get a little thick and irritate in that area. So, but right now, since the imaging isn't showing anything, it's probably not quite to that point, but it's more of like probably like insertional Achilles tendonitis with developing into Sever's disease. So tips for him is pretty much how we would treat osteoarthritis disease. We just use that example because it's the more like popular mainstream one. But pretty much what we're going to try and do is we're going to try and offload that muscle, get its mobility back, decrease the amount of tone in that area by using more like foam rolling, like massage ball, massage gun, try and work into that calf group, like the calf jock, the soleus, post tib, getting to the arches as well to loosen up the amount of tension that's building up in that area. And then also activating like the counter of those, so the antagonist. So like the front of the muscles of the ankle, so like the tib anterior. So by activating the tib anterior, you're going to cause the calf to be inhibited a little bit, so your body's not over relying on the calf, and the calf can relax when you're not doing as much activity, or when you are doing activity, the calf isn't working as hard. And then also like making sure your foot muscles and your arches are strong and stable, so that when you walk and stand, you walk and progress through your gait cycle, your calf isn't getting worked as hard, so that it doesn't pull on that heel bone as much, would probably be my advice. So offload it, take some rest. This one will get better with some rest. Once the irritation is gone, then you can start strengthening and retraining like the problem areas. So like probably ankle mobility is an issue, calf strength might be an issue, and then to like the antagonist muscles might be an issue, and then working on like the biomechanics and like movement training of the person. But it sounds like this person probably needs some rest. This is probably the big advice while doing rehab.
Yeah, no, and the only thing I would add is like the heel lift.
Oh yeah.
Heel lift, just to kind of offload that Achilles tendon early on, because like Gabe said, it's kind of like osteoarthritis, and if you continue playing through it, you might have even, I mean, we don't want to jinx it, but potentially an avulsion fracture of just, containing that pull there. So like Gabe said, rest is going to be your best friends, and then there's things that you can do, the rehab, soft tissue, like you mentioned, and just really calming that muscle down. But those are all things that I think you need to be doing that. And this is not the injury that you push to play, push to pain and stuff.
Exactly. And just to piggyback off that a little bit, that heel lift, pretty much what it does is provides a little cushion for the heel, so that feels good. And then two, it puts gastroc and soleus complex into a little bit of like a shortened position, so that it's not as stretched out, so it won't pull as much on that heel bone or calcaneus. So it's just another way to, like, if your son is really flared up or you're having a lot of pain, just with like standing and walking, that'll help calm down the irritation and allow the muscles to relax better. Because right now we need to get them out of that irritation phase and get them into like feeling better, and then getting into your rehab and then working into all that stuff.
Yeah, no, that was good. Awesome, man. Those were some good 3 questions that we had. And guys, we're going to try to just film 3 questions at a time, because we'll go into details. And like I said, comment below if you guys have a question. We pull questions from all of our YouTube community, also questions that we get through email. But if you guys have any questions, comment below. And if you guys liked what we talked about, share this with friends and family. Shout out to Gabe for being the lead on this one. But yeah, any closing thoughts, Gabe?
No, yeah, like Marco mentioned, we're just trying to pull as much questions and information we can together in like these quick hitters. Obviously, we can go more in detail, but I feel like it's nice to just answer questions. So, like Marco mentioned, comment below if you have any additional questions. Reach out to us in any way if you want to work with us in person or online. We work with people in Southern California and all over the world. So send us an email, info@thebasketballdoctors.com. And we'll put in that link for that ankle sprain program for early ankle strains and like return to sport type of stuff. So check those out.
Yep. All right, guys. Peace out. We are the Basketball Doctors. Let's ball for life.